Good morning, students. Before I am going to start with a new chapter, that is economic reforms, I asked for few questions in the last class. The questions were basically on the policies persuaded during the period of 1950 to 1990. The question which was focused on the policy, that was my question. I am repeating my question. Did the licensing policy was able to achieve the desired target? What were the reasons for following the policies? And last question was, what consequences we or the Indian economy faced due to the policy of licensing, or you can say import substitution policy. So the answer to those questions gave rise to the economic reforms, or it was forced that we have to adopt a changed policy, changed industrial policy. Do you know, students, in one instance in 1990, India was in a position of less than 2 weeks of foreign exchange with them to make the payment for its imports. That means there was a great shortage of foreign exchange. All the more, India was totally shattered on the economic grounds. That means India was burdened on the debt. Why? Because of so many factors. That was a question I was asking. Okay, let me repeat now. India mainly focused a protective, a controlled and regulated economic policy. That means industries were protected, industries were controlled, industries were regulated. They were not allowed to face the international competitiveness, due to which the industries did not come up with the quality products, did not try to do much for the expansion, did not adopt any kind of innovations and inventive methods in their production. And the public sector, due to its bureaucratic tendencies, because of dishonesty, because of lack of incentives or motivation, the public sector started incurring losses, resulting on a huge economic burden on the Indian economy. So, India had to borrow the money to recover, revive its economy from such an economic situation. So, the government of India extended for help from International Monetary Fund, IMF, and World Bank. And of course, World Bank gave the loans, required amount of loans. IMF also helped the Indian economy, but under some conditions. So, what was the condition that gave rise to? That was LPG, that is economic reforms. So, under the suggestions made by the IMF and World Bank, India adopted for a new change policy, and that was a need of the hour. So let me now start with the chapter. First of all, what is the meaning of economic reforms? What do you mean by economic reforms? So this is all the policies and measures introduced since 1991 with a view to improve the level of efficiency, productivity, and profitability in the economy. Efficiency, that means the working efficiency. Productivity, that means more output with limited inputs. And of course, profitability by controlling the quality and quantity in the economy. These economic reforms, whatever reforms we have introduced, these economic reforms have got different names. It is also known as by LPG, very popular name LPG, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization. It is also known as New Industrial Policy or New Economic Policy 1991. It is also known as Stabilization Adjustment Program. So these are the alternative names that can be used in place of economic reforms. So now coming to focus on the reasons for the economic reforms, which I gave an introductory right now. So first of all, the India's high fiscal deficit. In 1992, the fiscal deficit means the borrowing, that is loan taken by the country from other sources, other countries rather. So in 1882, the fiscal deficit of India was just 5.4% of GDP, which increased to 8.4% of GDP in 1991. And all the more, the interest payment, that is whatever we are taking loan, we need to pay interest on that. So the interest payment on the loans borrowed by Indian economy, that increased to 39% of total revenue collection of central government. So the total revenue collection means the government has got different sources of earning money. One most important source is tax. So on the total collection, suppose 100 rupees is collected by the government of India in the form of maybe tax or some other sources. So 39 rupees was supposed to be given as interest payment on the loan we have taken to meet out our needs. So that was the condition. That means India was highly under the debt burden. Next is the balance of payment crisis. Balance of payment crisis means the balance between payments and receipts of the country. You've already learned, I hope by now you must have learned the terms I have given you. So balance of payment means the difference between the payments and receipts of the country. So payments were more and receipts were very less for the country. And payments, we have to make it in foreign exchange. Payments are more. So what is going to happen? Less foreign exchange left with the country. And thus, the balance of payment was not in a position that we are able to pay the money to other country, or you can say we can make the payment in foreign currency. And that came up to only, foreign exchange reserve was up to only 2 weeks of imports, what we were importing, for the making payment of imports only for 2 weeks. So that was too less. Country was in real critical condition in the matter of foreign exchange reserve. Next is failure of PSUs. PSUs also failed to work efficiently. Initially for the 15 years, PSU performed very nicely, but after that it started incurring losses. And that losses was met from the government budget, and government had to maintain the funds specially for the maintenance, for the working, for the investment in public sector, so that it can smoothly function. So that became a further economic burden on the Indian economy. So apart from that, there is another very important reason was the prices started increasing to a great extent. In 56, it was very less comparatively, but by the 1990, the price increased up to 17%. 17% means a very great increase in the prices. That means the general price level of the commodities increased to a great extent. So what does it mean? If the price increases, the purchasing capacity of rupee decreases, the value of rupee decreases, making our imports more costlier. Last but not the least, that is political instability. That was a period when we were not having a stable government. The government was fluctuating. That means the government was coming and going. That the country was not ruled by a single government continuously. So that failed to take up a solid and strong measure to check all these problems. So these were the various reasons due to which The economic reforms or the economic policy was changed and a new economic policy was framed and started implementing. Political instability also one of the reason you can say that the government was not in a position to undertake any kind of systematic decision, and that led to decline in the investment, or you can say withdrawal of investment. Which investment? Foreign investment. I mean, because of the instability, the businessman was very uncertain about the business profits in the future, so they started withdrawing. They started taking out the money from the Indian economy. So that was also one of the reason for the great economic burden increase in the economy. So these are the reasons for the new economic policy to emerge. I hope by now you must have understood the reason that led to a new economic policy that was totally changed, totally different from the previous policy adopted during the last 40 years. So we'll continue with the next in the next video. Thank you.